This is right at the beginning of the school year. This is the second lesson in Unit 1. And this is the time to use this lesson to establish some classroom culture, some academic culture, some classroom community in your class. And there's a ton of things to do in this lesson. Now I understand. It's right at the beginning of the school year. You have a ton of things to do. You can't spend a whole lot of time on any one single lesson. But at the same time, it's critical that you engage these kids in doing something that's kind of fun, kind of cool. So I would suggest that you take the time, teach them how to use Doceri, and use a bunch of ideas. I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas in this short video here on what you can do based on Lesson 2. Now, Lesson 2 is several transformations of images. I'm going to translate images, rotate images, and reflect images. And I've put this all on my website. It's under 8th grade. Go there and take a look. And they're also posted on YouTube. I made this image available to you, and it's listed in both on my website and in the text for the YouTube video. So kids can use this image to create their own images. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. But do not take a screenshot. You have to download the image and then get it over to the camera roll. The moment you take a screenshot, though, it will introduce a background into the image. You really don't want that. You don't want a background. You want to be able to use the image with being able to see through it, to see the grid. And so here's an example of that. I'm going to create a heptagon. I'm going to use this regular heptagon. And I'm just going to take the points. I'm going to put a point on top of each point of the heptagon. So there's 7 vertices, 7 points, and 7 sides. And then I'm going to just take each of those points and slide them over a little bit, various directions. So I'm just making my own image to be able to move through a series of transformations. So I'm going to draw a line segment to each of those points. In Doceri, remember, line segments will snap between points. So they will be straight. Then get rid of the template and then connect each of those points in Doceri. Now this one's a little bit tough here. You want to be able to cut out each of these points after you're done with it. This blue one right here is really, it's tough to separate out. So you might want to, if I were to do this again, I'd move this point over just a little bit so it's easy to cut that point out. Regardless, I was able to do that, and here's the figure by removing those blue points. So once you have that figure, add a little bit of color, and then you can create a reflection. I'll add the color a little bit later. Then you can create a reflection. Doceri does not allow you to reflect images, so you have to do that on your own. You have to, point by point, you have to place each corresponding point on the grid. So you start here, the corresponding point is right here, and you just go through the figure and place each of these corresponding points in the proper place, using the grid to tell you where to do that or to show you where to do that. After you do that, connect all the points, and now you have the original figure, which is right here, and some color added to it, and its reflection, which is right here. And then you can make a series of reflections. This is a reflection, this is a reflection, this is a reflection, or you can make a series of rotations. So this is rotated 90 degrees, rotated 90 degrees, rotated 90 degrees, and rotated 90 degrees. And so as you do this, the kids are getting used to the language, they're creating their own stuff, they're doing things on a coordinate grid right here. And so you're introducing them to a coordinate grid in a non-threatening way. And these are images right from the curriculum. So these are translations, these are rotations, and these are reflections. So some kids can do reflections, some kids can do rotations, some kids can do translations. They can make their own little video, do a narration of it, or they can print these out, make them nice with different colors, and post them around the room. It is engaging. They will like to do this. All right, So how do you reflect an image? And so you have to take some time. So you, on a grid in Doceri, how do you do that? It took me a while to figure out how to do this. Here's another reflection. I'm going to reflect that over that pink line there. So 2 different reflections. And so I have kids try to figure out how to do that. Don't even give them any instructions. Say you want this image to move over to this image. What are some things that you have to think about as you do that? They might be successful and they might not, but it is in that effort that they will start to learn some stuff. Same thing here, and then you can go through and show them how to do it. All right, rotations. You can take a compass, put it into Doceri, have kids rotate images. Now this is, I think this is lesson 2, activity 1, which I'm sure that it is. And so what if you had kids rotate it every 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, every defined amount, and go all the way around. Don't stop here. This is a 120-degree rotation, but don't stop there. Go all the way around. See what happens. See what kind of images kids put together. So another rotation. This is practice problem number 3 from lesson 2. And you have to rotate the image around, and you're going to find out that they are supplementary as you do that. And so I put them together and rotated them around, so it's 45 degrees and 135 degrees, 90 degrees and 90 degrees, and then 135 degrees and 45 degrees. So different things that kids can do here is translations. How would you have students do translations? Again, this is on the grid. So this one goes to the left 2 units and down 1 unit. So that's plotting in a coordinate plane. Left 2 units, down 1 unit. Negative direction 2 units, negative direction 1 unit. Or go back the other way. Tons of stuff to do. Here's some other translations. Now when I see translations, one of the things I think about are prisms. This is from 7th grade. So a prism has congruent faces that are parallel to each other. So it's really just a translation of one face through to where the second face is. It's just moving it across. It's just translating it. So here's the prism with the front removed, so you can actually see into the prism. And here's the prism with each of the rectangular faces, sides, I should say, shown. And the green are the polygonal faces. And that, I believe, is a hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's a hexagon. All right. This is lesson 2.3. And the kids get cards to sort by either translations, rotations, or reflections. But if you just look at each of these and scroll through them, I would not have known that that green shape is stationary, because you cut the cards up and you give them to the kids. And I'm not so sure that we would have noticed that that green shape stays in the same spot each time. And the maroon or burgundy shape just kind of dances around it. And so then they have to describe which are reflections, rotations, and translations. Lots of stuff to do. So you can have them do these translations. These are all translations. And again, they just kind of dance around. You can actually have them rotate the translations around the page. See what happens. These are actual rotations. So each of the centers of rotation, the first few figures, are a point on the image. It's a point at the vertex of the image. And I included circles so that I could carefully rotate the images around on the page. I actually was doing this in a grid, and I got rid of the grid, replaced it with this background. Now, if you move the point of rotation outside the image, so now the point of rotation is here and the image is here, you really need 3 circles to keep track of the rotation. So you put 1 point on each of the circles, and then you rotate this image around, keeping each of those points on the circle. All right. This is card number 12. I had a lot of trouble with this because the center of rotation is outside the image and I couldn't figure out where that center of rotation is. So I finally figured it out, and then you can see the image rotate around and go from the green image to the burgundy image. All right, and finally, these are reflections over the center, the line of reflection. So connect each of the corresponding points, draw the line of reflection which is perpendicular. Now imagine rotating the reflection around that green shape and moving this reflection out farther, or putting it in this spot here, and then this spot up here, and this spot over here, and this spot down here. I don't know what happens. See if kids can buy into that, try to do some of this. All right, so lots of ideas. Hopefully you'll pick up on some of these and try to have your students